Throughout history, magnificent structures have stood defiantly against the relentless march of time, inspiring awe and wonder across the globe. They stand as enduring testaments to humanity's boundless power, extraordinary intellect, profound faith, and soaring ambition. Yet, perhaps more hauntingly, countless masterpieces have vanished almost without a trace, reduced to mere whispers carried on the winds of millennia, leaving behind an indelible pang of regret. The true tragedy isn't that these colossal achievements eventually crumbled, for all tangible creations are inherently ephemeral. Rather, the most unsettling revelation is the sobering realization that many entities once deemed indestructible ultimately proved unable to withstand the ceaseless erosion of time, the ravages of war, the fury of natural disasters, the insatiable grip of human greed, and even our own profound indifference. In reflecting upon these lost marvels, we are not merely contemplating the ruins of ancient edifices. Instead, we confront a chilling, truthful, and profoundly painful warning. No civilization is guaranteed eternal existence if its people neglect the preservation of memory, fail to transmit knowledge, or cease nurturing the core values upon which it was built. And perhaps this is precisely why this narrative is not only worthy of our attention, but demands that we pause, linger, and ponder its implications until the very end. For the deeper we delve into the currents of historical loss, the more clearly we discern that what has faded into oblivion speaks volumes about our present world, about how we live, about what we undervalue, and about countless wonders future generations may never witness if we persist in our apathy and forgetfulness. Within history's unending current, some structures seem almost to have been born to defy every law of destruction. The pyramids of Giza still stand majestically after 4.5 millennia, silent witnesses to countless civilizations rising and falling. The Roman Colosseum has resiliently survived even the collapse of the mighty Roman Empire. And the Parthenon quietly reigns on the Acropolis, gazing down upon Athens like a stoic observer of thousands of years of history. Such enduring masterpieces can easily lead humanity to believe that stone, coupled with ambition and power, possesses the ability to conquer the relentless ravages of time. Yet, history is not solely etched by what remains, by the structures that stand robustly today. It is also profoundly inscribed by what has vanished, by the agonizing voids left within the continuum of time. And sometimes, it is precisely those things that have permanently ceased to exist that compel us to ponder and reflect most deeply. For there once stood equally magnificent, equally significant, and indeed equally legendary structures that today exist only as faint traces, oral traditions, and the unceasing imagination of posterity. When we look back at these lost legacies, what moves us is not merely the former beauty that has dissolved into nothingness, but rather a profound and raw human truth. No empire is eternal, no power is invincible, and no achievement, however brilliant, is guaranteed to endure if humanity ceases to cherish and preserve it. Our first story unfolds in ancient Babylon, around 600 BCE, home to one of history's most enigmatic creations, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. In the vivid imagination of countless generations, it was a lush, verdant wonder, rising majestically amidst the harsh, arid heat of the Mesopotamian desert, a daring defiance of nature's formidable embrace. Legend has it that King Nebuchadnezzar II constructed this exquisite garden to alleviate the homesickness of his beloved wife, Princess Amytis of Media, who longed for the green landscapes of her homeland amidst Babylon's dry plains. This love story might be true, or it might be a beautiful myth, but its survival across millennia, retold countless times, reveals humanity's deep resonance, with tales interwoven with genuine affection, boundless power, and the fierce desire to transcend natural limitations. The perplexing challenge, however, is that to this day, we cannot definitively know what the garden truly looked like, and scholars even question its very existence. Strikingly, Babylonian records themselves, renowned for their meticulous documentation of everything, contain almost no mention of this magnificent garden, despite detailing many other constructions. The most famous and elaborate descriptions come from Greek and Roman authors who never saw the structure firsthand, but merely recounted earlier tales passed down through generations. They spoke of tiered terraces, exotic plants from across the world, and an ingenious hydraulic system mechanically lifting water to great heights. This sounds spectacular and almost unbelievable, and it's quite possible that it was a legend embellished and retold until it grew far grander than its original truth, if it ever existed at all. Some modern scholars even boldly hypothesize that the garden might not have been in Babylon, but in Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, about 300 kilometers to the north, where Assyrian texts indeed mention a royal garden with complex irrigation. And here, the first crucial lesson becomes starkly clear. When authentic evidence vanishes, imagination rushes in to fill the void. But imagination, however soaring and beautiful it may be, can never truly substitute for carefully preserved memory and rigorously maintained historical evidence. From the realm of myth and skepticism, history now guides us to a structure whose existence is undeniably confirmed. Standing majestically against the Mediterranean sky, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. In 331 BCE, during his conquests, Alexander the Great founded the city of Alexandria on Egypt's Mediterranean coast, which swiftly grew into a bustling center of knowledge and commerce. Off the coast, on a small island named Pharos, rose one of the tallest structures the ancient world had ever known. The Pharos Lighthouse towered over 100 meters high, comparable to a 30-story modern building, and held the title of the tallest man-made structure on Earth for over a millennium. Imagine yourself as a merchant sailor, having drifted for weeks on the vast, perilous open sea. Suddenly, in the distance, you spot a colossal white stone edifice proudly piercing the horizon, its beacon blazing fiercely atop as the sun begins to set. That sensation would surely be more than mere relief at nearing port. It would be the palpable feeling of approaching a brilliant civilization, guaranteed safety, and a world-class hub of knowledge and trade. It was a potent symbol of hope and clear direction. The lighthouse comprised 3 distinct sections: a sturdy square base, an elegant octagonal middle section, and a cylindrical top where the sacred flame burned brightly throughout the night. Some ancient accounts even mention a colossal mirror at the apex, capable of reflecting sunlight during the day and amplifying the flame at night, allowing its light to be seen for dozens of miles. This could be factual, or it could be a myth blended with ingenious early science. What is certain, however, is that this edifice guided ships for 15 centuries, a guiding light for countless voyages. Then, through a series of fierce earthquakes from the 10th to the 14th centuries, it gradually crumbled, piece by piece. By 1480, its last remaining stones were repurposed to construct the citadel of Kite Bay, marking a truly poignant and almost tragic end. Yet, Alexandria did not only lose its lighthouse, the city also lost its great library, which once housed hundreds of thousands of ancient texts, an invaluable treasure trove of human knowledge. A beacon guiding ships across the sea, and a beacon guiding human intellect, both vanished. This dual loss compels us to agonizingly ponder: is a civilization truly measured by the grandeur of its architectural marvels, or by the knowledge and values it preserves and transmits? Around 280 BCE, on the Greek island of Rhodes, a colossal bronze statue was erected to honor the islanders' glorious victory against a year-long siege. This was a statue of the sun god Helios, the island's patron deity, commonly known as the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. For centuries, people have loved to imagine the statue straddling the harbor entrance, proudly reaching out, allowing ships to sail between its legs. This image is incredibly popular, dramatic, and also completely unrealistic, even architecturally absurd. Such a structure would have blocked the harbor for the 12 years of its construction, and ancient sources do not describe it in such an extravagant manner either. The truth was less ostentatious, but no less magnificent. The actual statue, over 30 meters tall, stood on a marble pedestal near the harbor entrance, with one hand raised, holding a torch. It was meticulously crafted from bronze melted down from the defeated enemy's own weapons, with colossal plates meticulously fitted around a sturdy iron framework, a powerful testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the Rhodians. What makes this story truly haunting and thought-provoking lies elsewhere. This structure, once the pinnacle of an entire people's pride, stood for a mere 56 years, a fleeting period equivalent to a human lifespan. In 226 BCE, a devastating earthquake caused it to break at the knees, collapsing with a resounding crash. Yet, the remaining ruins of the statue lay there for over 800 years, like a fallen giant, perpetually sprawled on the ground. People from all corners of the world continued to seek it out, simply to gaze upon a lost symbol of glory. Finally, in 654 CE, it was sold for scrap to a Jewish merchant. Tales suggest it took 900 camels to transport all the bronze away, a wonder that existed for only a human lifetime, yet its legend has stretched over 2 millennia. Perhaps this, too, is a profound reminder for us today. Human life is short, material achievements are ephemeral, but the deep meaning humanity imbues them with, the spiritual values they represent, can endure for far longer, transcending all physical destruction. Our historical journey now temporarily veers away from unique architectural wonders to explore what truly forged mighty empires: infrastructure. In Carthage, it wasn't the opulent monuments or grand temples, but rather the military port of Cothan that served as the beating heart of its power. For centuries, Carthage controlled much of the Western Mediterranean, dominating trade routes and instilling fear through its unrivaled naval might. At the core of this strength lay a magnificent circular harbour, enclosed by high walls, capable of housing approximately 220 warships. At its centre was a command island, from which Carthaginian admirals could strategically observe and coordinate their entire formidable fleet. Ships were housed in covered docks around the perimeter, always poised for instantaneous deployment. This was no longer a structure built for aesthetic admiration or a monument for praise. This was a perfectly engineered war machine. Try to imagine standing there, the pungent scent of sea salt mingling with ship's pitch, the rhythmic clatter of oars, the hurried shouts of men preparing for departure, and above it all, the cold, sharp gaze of commanders calculating the fate of the vast, boundless sea. It's not difficult to understand why Rome, Carthage's perennial enemy, so deeply feared this city. Nor is it surprising that, upon their resounding victory in 146 BCE after 3 brutal Punic wars, Rome utterly annihilated the city, burning every corner, leveling the harbour, and attempting to erase it from humanity's collective memory. Today, only shallow waters and a few faint archaeological traces remain. The lesson here is blunt and grim. The victors don't just seize land and resources. They also claim the right to rewrite history, shape human memory, and at times eradicate the very existence of their adversaries. In Rome, people often remember the magnificent Colosseum, a grand symbol of the empire. But just south of it once stood a structure no less colossal, and perhaps even more technically complex, the Baths of Caracalla. This was not merely a place for bathing, it was a multifunctional Roman social hub, a colossal complex capable of accommodating approximately 1,600 people at once, featuring hot rooms, caldarium, cold rooms, frigidarium, massive swimming pools, libraries brimming with scrolls, lush green gardens, and sports training grounds. Romans flocked there for exercise, conducted business, engaged in profound philosophical debates, and enjoyed an organized urban life whose sophistication and comfort still astound modern observers. Yet, the most astonishing aspect lay beneath the surface, hidden from plain sight. Water, from colossal mountain aqueducts, flowed in vast quantities, stored in massive reservoir systems built into the hillsides. Below ground, 50 brick furnaces burned incessantly, day and night, to heat copper boilers, supplying water to various hot pools. A labyrinthine network of tunnels, miles long and intricately woven like a spiderweb, channeled water and hot air throughout the entire complex. Those relaxing in the warm waters, swimming in the pools, or strolling through the gardens above likely never considered that beneath their feet lay a colossal industrial machine operating ceaselessly, powered by hundreds of slaves working in shifts, meticulously maintaining precise temperatures, airflow, and fuel supplies. That technology was far ahead of its time, and it would be many centuries before Europe achieved a similar level of sophistication. This frequently reminds me of a familiar paradox we often overlook. Humanity tends to praise superficial splendor and easily visible achievements. But what truly underpins civilization, ensuring its smooth operation, are always the silent, intricate systems that the majority neither see nor appreciate. As the Roman Empire gradually waned in the west, Constantinople rose in the east like a phoenix from the ashes. There stood the Great Palace of Byzantium, a colossal architectural complex stretching from the bustling hippodrome to the Sea of Marmara, encompassing magnificent reception halls, majestic churches, verdant orchards, and resplendent throne rooms. This was no mere singular building, but an entire miniature city within a city, serving as the heart of Byzantine imperial power for over 800 years. From the Great Palace, Byzantine emperors gazed out over the bustling Bosphorus Strait, observing ships teeming from the Mediterranean, the Black Sea, and converging Asian trade routes. From their throne rooms, they received foreign emissaries in exquisitely elaborate ceremonies designed to overwhelm visitors with the wealth, authority, and sophistication of Byzantine civilization. Imagine the individuals who once moved through that space, with their vastly different fates and roles. An emperor awakening to the vast expanse of the sea, then ascending his lofty throne to receive other kings. A soldier standing vigilant guard in a long corridor, ever alert to subtle coups. A merchant waiting for hours in the antechamber, knowing that a single word could lead to ultimate fortune or utter ruin. A slave toiling silently on a lower level, invisible yet indispensable to the functioning of the entire machinery of power. And above it all, the boisterous roar from the hippodrome, filled with tens of thousands of spectators, echoing against the sacred palace walls. Then, after the 13th century, as the empire gradually weakened, the palace complex too fell into disrepair, abandoned, and its stones quarried for other constructions. Today, only scattered, desolate ruins remain. Power, once seemingly boundless, once thought secured by robust stone walls, proved in time to be susceptible to the eroding winds of history, fading into silent oblivion. Even the most sacred places, the very centers of profound faith, could not escape this harsh fate. Old Street, Peter's Basilica in Rome, built starting in 330 CE, over what Christians believed to be the tomb of St. Peter the Apostle, was once the most sacred and important church in the entire Christian world for over 1,200 years. Countless popes were enthroned there, numerous emperors knelt there to receive their crowns, and countless pilgrims journeyed thousands of miles just to step through its hallowed forecourt. But then, in 1506, Pope Julius II made a bold and controversial decision. He ordered the demolition of this ancient church to construct the magnificent, resplendent Renaissance basilica that stands today. That decision reveals a difficult truth, sometimes even more painful than destruction by war or natural disaster. Humanity loses its heritage not due to external enemies, but due to internal ambition, the fervent desire to create something even more glorious, more magnificent. The new creation may indeed be grand, but its cost is sometimes an irrecoverable portion of memory, a historical flow ruptured beyond mending. In medieval London, Old Street, Paul's Cathedral once dominated the skyline with its soaring spire, an unmistakable symbol of the city. For centuries, it was not merely a church, but the very heart, the vibrant center of London life. Markets bustled around its churchyard, lawyers met clients inside, merchants haggled and negotiated right in its nave. Then, on a fateful day, the 4th of June, 1561, lightning struck its towering wooden spire. It burned for hours before collapsing amidst the horror of the populace, and was never rebuilt in its original form. For over a century thereafter, London lived with a massive cathedral, yet one stripped of its crowning glory, its iconic spire. Generations grew up, knowing only this site, accepting its incomplete form as its natural state. But for the elders, who remembered the spire's former majesty, an aching sense of loss persisted, a piece of their collective memory forever gone. Then, in 1666, the Great Fire of London roared through the city like a ravenous beast. When the inferno reached the cathedral, its scaffolding and ancient dried-out timber roof, offered no resistance, becoming instant fuel for the flames. Lead from the roof melted and streamed like rivers of molten metal. Stones exploded under the intense heat. The church bells crashed down into a blazing inferno of red. 600 years of history, countless stories, and innumerable fates were reduced to rubble in mere hours. It was a heart-wrenching sight. Londoners walked through the ashes of their city's grandest symbol, understanding that the sky above would never again look the same. Later, the great architect Christopher Wren erected the new St. Paul's Cathedral, whose iconic dome still graces the city's skyline today. Yet the old Gothic edifice, with all its memories, its very soul, and its historical imprint, was irrevocably lost, never to be recovered. Across the River Thames, on its south bank, another landmark, far humbler in its construction, not built of marble or cast bronze, yet immense in its cultural impact, was also erased. The Globe Theatre. This was the hallowed ground where William Shakespeare's immortal plays first captivated audiences, where characters like Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth stepped onto the stage, forever shaping English literature and theatre. The Globe itself was a polygonal, open-air playhouse, featuring 3 tiers of wooden galleries encircling a thrust stage. This stage projected into the audience, allowing spectators to surround the actors on 3 sides, creating an intimate connection where the physical barrier between performer and viewer virtually vanished. There were no dazzling electric lights, no elaborate modern special effects, only compelling dialogue, raw emotion, and the extraordinary power of language. That alone was enough to fundamentally transform English literature and illuminate the human soul. Yet, this iconic structure stood for less than 50 years. In 1642, the Puritan government, deeming them immoral, ordered the closure of all London theatres. By 1644, the Globe was completely demolished, a place that had helped humanity understand the profound complexities of ambition, love, jealousy, betrayal, and the timeless human tragedy, could not save itself from the era's harsh political and moral tide. This makes me reflect deeply on how culture, no matter how pervasive its influence, is often far more fragile than we perceive. Should even one generation fail to cherish and nurture it, an entire vibrant creative space, a whole artistic current, can vanish forever. Finally, in Paris, there was the Bastille, a formidable fortress erected in the 14th century, initially designed to protect the city from foreign invaders. Over time, however, it gradually transformed into a prison, a grim symbol of the French monarchy's despotic and absolute power. By the 18th century, the Bastille was renowned not for its military might or robust architecture, but for the profound fear it instilled. The king could order anyone imprisoned without trial, without charges, and without the right to appeal. Writers, dissidents, religious minorities, anyone who displeased the court could vanish forever behind those thick stone walls without a single explanation. On the 14th of July, 1789, an enraged revolutionary mob stormed the Bastille, igniting the French Revolution. Though only 7 prisoners remained inside, what they attacked was more than just a physical prison. They assailed a symbol of centuries of oppression, absolute power, and profound injustice. Within months, the colossal fortress was systematically dismantled, stone by stone, in a deliberate act to obliterate a painful past. Some stones were carved into souvenirs, others were used to build new bridges, forging a different future. A structure that had stood for 4 centuries was eradicated not by accident or the erosion of time, but because people actively sought to terminate the meaning it represented, to dismantle a symbol of domination and injustice, and usher in a new era. This is the enduring takeaway from all these narratives. While physical structures may vanish, dissolving into oblivion, the profound meaning humans ascribe to them, the lessons they impart, and the emotions they evoke do not easily disappear with them. However, merely stopping at regret or nostalgia is insufficient. More importantly, we must understand why these stories still carry such weight and relevance today, deeply resonating within our souls. For each lost edifice is not just a closed chapter of history, it serves as a mirror, reflecting back upon our present, illuminating our choices and actions. When the Hanging Gardens of Babylon exist only in paintings and theoretical reconstructions, we understand that if historical records are not carefully preserved, If truth is neglected, then verity can slip from humanity's grasp, supplanted by fabricated narratives. When the Lighthouse of Alexandria and the Library of Alexandria, those twin beacons of guidance and knowledge, both vanished, we grasp that a society which loses its guiding light and its repository of wisdom suffers more than just material loss. It represents a rupture in the continuity of memory, a profound loss of direction and soul. When the Colossus of Rhodes, that triumphant deity, lay toppled for centuries only to be sold as scrap metal, we see how even the most dazzling glory is incredibly fragile, easily forgotten or devalued. When Carthage was all but erased from the map of memory, we learn that history is not always fair, nor always objective, for the victors often claim the right to tell the final story, dictating the fate of remembrance. And perhaps what compels me to reflect most deeply, what truly resonates, is not found in the inert stone, brick, bronze, or marble itself. It lies within the people who once inhabited, created, and were intimately connected to these structures. A wife might have yearned desperately for her homeland amidst the Babylonian desert, finding some solace in the verdant expanse of the gardens. A sailor might have wept upon seeing the light of Alexandria after days adrift in stormy seas, believing he would never reach safe harbor. A Rhodian citizen might have once gazed up proudly at the colossal statue, only to years later walk past its ruins with a gaze that betrayed uncontainable grief and endless regret while guiding their child. An ordinary Roman might have conversed about life, love, and philosophy in the baths of Caracalla, utterly unaware they were moving through a zenith of engineering and culture for an entire era. An actor at the Globe Theatre might have stood beneath the open sky, hearing the audience laugh, weep, and fall silent at Shakespeare's lines, never dreaming that in a few short years, that very place would be erased, leaving only a memory. A prisoner in the Bastille might have believed that no one remembered them, forgotten in the crushing darkness. Yet that very prison then became a symbol that an entire nation brought crashing down in a night that changed history forever. History truly touches our hearts and gains genuine meaning when we remember that every magnificent structure, no matter how enduring the materials from which it was forged, was once a space where real people walked, loved, feared, hoped, labored, prayed, struggled, and waited. When an edifice vanishes, the loss is not merely an inert architectural form. The loss encompasses the echoing sounds, the daily routines, the vibrant memories, and the irreplaceable atmosphere that no model or blueprint can ever fully replicate. We might restore the facade, the physical beauty of a structure, yet we can almost never fully resurrect the soul, the very breath of the era that gave it birth and nurtured it. This, then, is the greatest lesson that we, who live in the present, and all future generations who will follow us, must engrave upon our hearts. A civilization does not collapse instantaneously when the first bricks flake or the city walls begin to crack. Its decline actually begins subtly from within, when people start to disparage the value of knowledge, deny the profound significance of history, and hastily exchange sacred and precious memories for the fleeting conveniences of modern life. It is exacerbated when we casually adopt the habit of demolishing invaluable legacies, driven by the illusory belief that we can simply construct something newer, grander, more splendid, or even more modern. Yet, a harsh truth repeatedly demonstrated by history is this: the new, no matter how dazzling, can never fully replace the old. There are values, fragments of the past, that once lost, will never return. A library can be reduced to ashes, and we can rebuild it with brand new bricks, but the unique manuscripts, the pages steeped in the sweat and wisdom of countless generations, once consigned to oblivion, are gone forever. A cathedral might be replaced by a sturdier and more magnificent dome, but the sacred reverence, the profound veneration cultivated over more than a millennium, cannot be recast. A theatre can be meticulously reconstructed to its original architecture, even modernized with advanced sound and lighting. But the legendary moment when the great bard Shakespeare first spoke and his audience fell into stunned silence on the Globe stage can never be experienced by humanity a second time. For this very reason, the true value these ancient stories offer is not to immerse us in unproductive nostalgia. Their genuine worth lies in their power to compel us to pause and deeply introspect. Ultimately, what are we protecting? What are we preserving for those who will come after us? Are the architectural marvels, the precious books, the ethical principles, and the sacred memories we leave to our descendants truly worthy of their gratitude, their learning, and their pride? Or are we, unconsciously, obscuring the truth and distorting history through our own indifference and irresponsibility? Are we cultivating in the next generation the capacity to remember and cherish the past? Or are we inadvertently teaching them to quickly swipe past everything on a touchscreen, only to hastily forget it as a new day dawns? These are no longer distant tales belonging solely to ancient Babylon, the renowned Library of Alexandria, or the hidden corners of Paris. This is a real story, one that exists within every family, every city, and every society, striving to build a sustainable future. If I may offer a deeply personal reflection, I believe what humanity needs to cherish and safeguard extends beyond robust physical legacies of stone or timeless architectural wonders. More fundamentally, it is to cultivate a profound awareness, a constant recognition that every step we take, every breath we draw today, unfolds upon a colossal foundation of memory, forged through countless losses, blood, and tears of preceding generations. Possessing such an awareness, we would instinctively temper our arrogance concerning the dazzling achievements of the present, become less hasty and immature in our judgments of the past, and learn to bow in reverence before all that once existed and shaped who we are. For, ultimately, what truly defines and constitutes a brilliant, powerful civilization has never solely been the sum total of magnificent constructions humans have erected. What truly builds enduring and meaningful civilization is what humanity chose times not to destroy, what it strived to preserve at all costs. Therefore, after embarking on this journey of reflection and contemplation regarding great wonders and renowned symbols that have irrevocably vanished from the currents of history, perhaps the most important question is not, why did they fall? The more urgent and weighty question is, what will we do with what we possess, what we hold in our hands, right now? Do we possess enough clarity and discernment to identify and preserve the truly invaluable aspects, the core nuclei of culture and knowledge? Do we have sufficient humility to listen and learn profoundly from the painful losses of the past, so as not to repeat those errors? And most importantly, do we bear the sacred responsibility to avoid rendering future generations adrift, left only to hear stories of a world that was once incredibly precious, immensely rich, yet squandered and lost through the indifference and negligence of their own ancestors? If these words have resonated with you, prompting you to pause and momentarily set aside life's hurried demands to reflect a little longer on the meaning of history, the power of memory, and the core values that must be preserved, then we invite you to continue this journey of discovery with us in our upcoming profound content. And if, deep within your soul, a specific place, an architectural marvel, or even a personal memory suddenly arises, accompanied by the fear that humanity might eventually forget it, please cherish and carry that poignant sense of unease with you today and always. For sometimes, it is precisely from a small, nagging unease, a glimmer of conscience, that people begin to awaken, learning to value what they once mistakenly believed would last forever, before the door of regret slams shut, and it is too late to salvage anything.